Have you ever pondered how powerful social movements begin, especially those born from a deep longing for freedom and self-determination? Black nationalism originated as a multifaceted movement rooted in the experiences of racial oppression and the urgent need for empowerment among people of African descent, particularly in the United States. It was a direct response to systemic racism, slavery's enduring legacy, and the consistent denial of full citizenship and human dignity. The movement's core mechanism lies in its intellectual and practical rejection of assimilation into a dominant white society that consistently subjugated Black people. It arose from the realization that even after emancipation, true equality and justice were elusive. Thinkers and leaders began advocating for a distinct Black identity, group solidarity, and self-governance as the primary path to liberation. This framework allowed for various expressions of Black nationalism, from advocating for separate Black institutions and economic self-sufficiency to calls for a return to Africa or the establishment of a sovereign Black nation. The profound disillusionment with unfulfilled promises after the Civil War, coupled with rampant racial violence and the institutionalization of Jim Crow laws, provided fertile ground for these ideas to coalesce and spread, giving authority to the argument that Black people needed to define their own destiny. To understand this evolution, it is helpful to examine the historical context that nurtured its various expressions. For example, consider the period following the Civil War, when many formerly enslaved people found themselves without land, resources, or true protection under the law. This desperate situation fueled early calls for Black self-help and independent development, laying the groundwork for later movements. By tracing the ideas through figures like Martin Delany, a 19th-century physician and abolitionist who championed Black emigration and self-governance, you can see how the theoretical underpinnings were continually reshaped by lived experiences and changing political landscapes. A fascinating insight into the movement's early days is the concept of a nation within a nation, where Black communities would create their own economic, social, and political structures independent of white control. This idea, often articulated by pioneering figures, highlights the deep desire for autonomy and protection from an oppressive state. The Universal Negro Improvement Association, or UNIA, founded by Marcus Garvey in the early 20th century, further popularized these themes, advocating for global Black unity, economic independence, and the repatriation of African descendants to their ancestral homeland. This demonstrated a powerful shift towards collective action on a grand scale. Ultimately, the origin of Black nationalism underscores a persistent and adaptive struggle for freedom, self-respect, and collective power. It represents a dynamic intellectual and political tradition that continues to inspire and inform contemporary movements for racial justice and equity, proving that the quest for self-determination remains a powerful force in shaping history.